The last two presenters are Napua Hueu. She's going to be speaking on the Honomanu restoration project, which is in tandem with Kamalani's presentation or tidbits about the East Maui Water study. And Napua was a presenter last year, but under another subject. She wears many hats, and I will let her lead. Aloha, Napua Hueu. We just came from our Honomanu Valley Saturday workday that we've been doing every Saturday since January 2019. Prior to that, we got wind that Mahipono's here and they're here for food security and whatnot. But when you're involved on this subject matter since time immortal, both of our grandparents and ancestors have been involved in every single aspect of returning the water, not wanting to let the water go. Mahina had shared a really interesting post the other day, which reminded me of the subject matter of our ancestors in 1881, submitting a petition to King Kalakaua, begging him not to take our waters away from the Crown lands, Kianai, Honomanu, Waihinike'e, because they knew that it would cause great trouble to the people. And as Mahina's post had said, it did cause great trouble, and we're still in the midst of great trouble. And our community is ridden with, every single variety of hardship, from extensive, drug issues to the just quality of water, which has direct effects on our children. And we, are from Kianai and lived Kianai our entire lives, and we see the absolute direct effects of the taking of the water. With the little kids running around with little open sores because the water's not flushing, in the streams that they swim in or that they walk in. And so when Mahipono, when the announcement came out that Mahipono's here, we have these sort of like radar abilities to see what's actually going on. And it was in our mind, it was a rebrand. A and B, the name is, they've done too much to be able to come out and say, hey, we're going to grow food now. We know better. And so once we got word of that, we're like, how are we gonna fight this? We've been fighting it for 30 years in court. All the people that are on the contested water case for East Maui are our family. We've rallied, picketed, gone to every water meeting since we were born, and we're absolutely exhausted at thinking that that's actually gonna work in the end. And we realized that it was gonna have to come down to the field. It's gonna go down in the field. And so we loaded up our truck and we went to Honomanu and said, okay, we're going to open up the taro patches here. If we're going to tell them that they can't take our water to farm food for food security, for Maui, we have to be able to provide the food for Maui. And so in a few weeks, we're going to unveil our native tenant farm narrative. We like to sort of copycat Mahipono and all the language that's used. So our native tenant farm plan and introduce everybody to the concept of growing food for Maui in East Maui instead of in Central Maui. Look at all the benefits of that. You can leave all the water in the stream so that the streams and the ocean and the whole ecosystem is, better, and then at the same time pull just as much food that they would have grown in Maui. In all the dormant, vacant valleys of East Maui, where all the infrastructure is there, it's just hiding under a couple layers of king grass and invasive species and whatnot. And so every weekend so far, we've put back 2 of the main aowai. Today was a really monumental day for us. We tapped into a bigger spring that was hidden up behind where we're currently farming. As you know, both stream beds are completely dry. So we're not getting any water from that. So we figured, okay, we're going to find all the springs on the flat. Found our first one in January, brought it down to irrigate the first 2 taro patches we opened. We have like 4 other taro patches ready to be opened, but we didn't have enough water. That one little petite spring is not sufficient for more than 2 taro patches. So, hiked further backwards, and today finished digging the aowai all the way to the back to a bigger spring that's sitting at the back there. So now we'll have enough water to farm like the next 4 taro patches. But again, at some point, the streams are going to have to go back. And we did all of this starting in January, sent out a judicial notice to make everybody aware of what we're doing. Everybody from Mahikono all the way up to the U.S. Secretary of State, 22 different entities and departments got a notice from the native tenants of the place stating what we were doing, which is we're going to be very clear with you. We're here to put the water back, and so we justified the kuleana by opening the 2 lo'i, further opening up all the awai and the lo'i so that when it's time to dismantle Honomanu and bring all our water back down, that everything's ready and that all the channels are there and all the lo'i are there to be filled. And so, for the most part, this is what we're doing to battle corporate water theft and to restore balance to our ecosystem in Honomanu, Pahukoa. And we have a beautiful group of volunteers that come out every Saturday, and we make more and more progress every week. And for the most part, we want to encourage everybody to just entertain and get used to that concept of East Maui growing food for Central Maui. I think Central Maui needs to go, do other things as far as what they use the agricultural lands in Central Maui for. There's a lot of better things we can do than try and grow carrots in contaminated soil. So that's our perspective. And so my sister is manning the water study that goes along with all of this for us to continue to justify that we're doing this responsibly and that we have means to gauge our work and our progress. And I'll let you talk about. Should I answer questions after, Mom?
Yes.
Okay.
Or feel free to interrupt, throughout the way.
But and then I just wanted to put it out there that I don't work for DLNR. But I feel like, in a sense, we're redefining the real DLNR.
Yeah, the Honomanu Restoration Project is all about restoring our Pahukoa system, using, the water, the natural flow of the water that is there. I don't know if everyone knows here, but Honomanu stream gets taken from 2 ditch systems. There's the Uka diversion, and then there's the Ho'olau ditch diversion. Anyway, so therefore, that's why our streams Kolea and Honomanu in Honomanu Valley is just bone dry. It's getting taken from 2 different diversions. So, just being down Honomanu our whole lives, and also understanding the Kuleana Kuskipi How plays down there, which is he's the aquatic biologist. He's come down to Honomanu to collect data, I believe, since the 90s, 1990. So the amount of data he has in specific to Honomanu stream is over a decade worth. And he's kind of alluded to me that, he kind of wants to get someone else to hapai the kuleana. And then I also, I went to a charter school in the Big Island. It's called Kano'Ka'aina. It's a Native Hawaiian charter school, and I was a part of the middle school hui that would every day go down to, not every day, but every other, at least 3 times a week. We'd take a bus from Waimea and we'd go all the way down to Waipio Valley in this 4-wheel drive bus. And what we do is we do data collection. And so there was a group of about 12 to 15 middle schoolers, and our teacher would just watch us as we collect data with all these instruments. He was trained by a biologist. Sometimes the biologist would be there too, overlooking the whole operation, making sure everybody's, filling in the fields correctly in the sense of data tables and making sure all the gear works, because we have, a couple different really expensive water meters that you have to use to collect these. We have turbidity here, dissolved oxygen, salinity, temperature, and pH. If you could go, this is a little more middle school one. So I formulated this East Maui Water study with my girlfriend, who's a biologist, a little bit of what Uncle Skippy Howe has taught me throughout the years. And so I have a couple different data tables depending on the ages of the kids because the data, the East Maui Water study is really student-based data collection study. Of course, adults are more than welcome to do it too, and I know there's a lot of adults who want to participate in it because the water study is a little bit of holding, people accountable for what has been, what our streams have been through, but it's also just a great place, a great formula for our kids to learn.
Something like that is good for the adults that don't know nothing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, people don't understand that Honomanu Muliwai is one of the most important estuaries and nurseries for this whole island, especially the northeast side. All of these main estuaries and the connectivity of these streams. You can't eat poke bowls without, good ahi, and the ahi don't thrive without, the smaller fish, and the smaller fish don't thrive without those nursery grounds. So, of course, it's understanding that whole production system. Try to go down a little bit. So this one, up a little bit more. This one, up a little more. It's formulated to be a little bit more like elementary style. Mahina is the moon, the tide. It should actually say low or high here. So you take two different, which we have instruments that also you have to go back to figure out the tides. We refer to definitely Noah or one of those. Streams flowing, yes or no, kaha by name. And then this is where we do random insect sampling. So a throw net or a scoop net, whatever the kids find, and then they measure it in millimeters and release it. And so those are something that we really want our elementary students to get into. It's also a great way to get them out of the classroom, which I've praised my old school for doing that because there's a lot of Kolohe kids, and I feel like outdoors, that's where they're most free, that's where they gain their inspiration. I think they think better too. Can you go back to the other data table? So this one, yeah, is a little bit more middle school because you're using a little bit more expensive water meters. But basically the HQ40 can read five of these readings. So you can get all the numbers you want in one dip. Turbidity is a little different, but rainfall, these are observations. So it doesn't take you very long to fill up a data table. We can have my goal is to have about 40 middle schoolers, maybe 20 too. Start small, but have them all out there, and they can fill up at least 10 data tables at different areas of the muliwai, of the stream. Bottom of the muliwai, middle of the muliwai, top of the muliwai. Eventually, we also have a different data table that will be taken to measure stream data above the diversion. So you have that contrast. And then go back to the flow meter. And then this is where we measure velocity and the stream, the width, because every stream is different. So one kahavai can be only 3 feet, and then Makapipi is 22 feet. So this is where you basically compile what the water data that we just took. You input, the flow data collected, and then you're able to go back to the computers and formulate, whatever it may be, hypothesis of that stream. And so we do have over 127 streams in East Maui. The goals for East Maui Water Study is about 6 right now, just because it's easy access to get students to. But eventually we have about 27 that are still facing diversions. So that's the end goal, is definitely the full 27 streams. But again, this water study was just created to promote and kind of help with stream restoration, also holding those accountable, because last thing we need is a devastation of, our stream life. So sometimes, those numbers, 0 across the board, like my mom always says, it's good data, but it's also devastating. But you can hold people accountable if you have those. Yeah. question.
Since for middle schoolers, most of the middle schoolers I know already have cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
So have you thought about putting this into an app for middle schoolers to use? Because then they could do it
Yeah.
both in class and for homework.
Yeah, that's
That's
what
how
I'm
we've been
supposed to
doing
do.
it personally, is through our phones.
Yeah, it's actually easy because, we have those apps now to input it. But I kind of like the water-resistant paper and the clipboard feel. And then maybe eventually, when you're ready to take it back into the classroom, you can put it on your phones. But we're formulating the lesson plans right now for the teachers, specifically for Hana School, because...
But it might be really nice. I mean, what I would say is, one is it might be really nice to roll out all over Hawaii at once. If you have an app, then every school in Hawaii could do their local streams, right?
Thank you for that. Yes.
No, but I mean that,
I'll take that.
right? I mean,
We'll work on it.
right?
Yeah.
Because that would be, I mean, that's a very natural thing, particularly, and truthfully, for anywhere where they have water issues, which is a lot of places,
Right.
both around the country and so on, is then it would give people a chance to participate, right? And so you'd have a way to centralize data. People could see it, download it, play with it.
Yeah, we could mesh homework with that. Make a whole page just with the terms, the water terms that they need to understand, like velocity.
The other benefit is that if you can then collect data from the whole watershed, like the institute we have that does water modeling, could probably just drop that data into their model and model your whole watershed.
What institute is that?
So the University of Iowa has it's IHR Hydroscience, Hydraulics and Hydroscience. They just modified their name.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be the Institute for Hydraulics Research, right? But they've had both state money and federal money to model flooding, for example, in Iowa, right? And so they have data for the whole state, down to every stream, every creek, with stream-bred sensors, LiDAR scanning from aircraft. Right? So you combine weather, rain, and then water flow and the flooding to understand, and flood predictions. And, if you modify something, will you get flooding, right? So it's a big deal. But, it obviously works just as well for here, right? So if you guys generate the data, it might be really nice, right? That then
That is part of our full-fledged management system.
Yeah, that then they could put it in. They could actually tell you, okay, here's what happens, right? If you do this, or what I mean.
Yeah, it brings transparency.
Mom, we're going to give the preference of
Oh, sorry.
I'm just curious what kind of results you guys are seeing from dissolved oxygen and turbidity and stuff like
Turbidity. What we're...
that. Are you seeing any, what are your results saying, I guess?
Yeah, especially since the restoration of the awai we've been building down Honomanu. We're basically allowing more spring water to feed back into the muliwai. There's been an abundant amount of o'opu found since it's also, we need at least 2 more years of data collection to kind of figure that out, but specifically there's been more o'opu and hihivai and hapavai presence since the restoration. Hihivai and hapavai is the Hawaiian freshwater mollusks. Yeah. I wish I had something to show you, but especially during their spawning times right now, like if you look through the muliwai and you pick up rocks and you flip them over, you'll see all the eggs on the bottom. So we're still kind of monitoring, but we've noticed ever since the awai has been restored, and then there's a lot more fish coming in and then feeding and going back out, because that's a lot more nutrients coming into the muliwai. And today was pretty historic because we cut our second muliwai open, so then now that's 2 awai systems that they can kind of go hide under. Like, it's just adding to the whole nursery ground. So today was really historic because now our o'opu have another place to kind of go and hide and creep up. So
Ultimately, we've seen an increase in our native species at the muliwai there at Honomanu, based on opening the waterways.
and refish.
Work with Kai too in Kahoma.
Kai in Kahoma.
Kai, Well, there, I mean, we kind of
Oklahoma's far from us.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about on the other side, but they're
Maybe
kind
just
of-
with Uncle Skippy Howe, who's been the biologist at Honomanu for, I don't know how long, 20 more.
Yeah, so if we do, contrast his data with ours, then of course, like he's told us personally too, he's just amazed with the amount, Uncle Skippy, yeah, he's amazed in the amount of
2 questions.
restoration.
Do you have an estimate of how many millions of gallons Honomanu specifically is garnering, diverting? I read in the late 1800s, early 1900s, it was 65 million gallons a day. They had that grate that stopped before where they could tell. And my second question is, are you seeking any grants or angel supporters or what have you for your water study?
It's been self-funded from the beginning, just to avoid politics about our approach, and so happily self-funded, so that we can maintain our sovereignty in all of our actions.
We're very picky, so who we accept money.
And what about the
We'd rather equal us all day.
What's the current?
I'm thinking 40 million gallons, but that's hard to tell because they've diminished, they've taken out so much water for so long. How do you find a true number if you're not 100 years old and been collecting water?
And how far up is the diversion on Honomanu? Like how
Spreckles Ditch?
Yeah.
What is the exact elevation?
elevation or
Not sure.
miles?
More than 5 miles, obviously.
On the road?
Is my
From the moon back.
from water to get the water?
Tell me again. Say that.
Is my phone using sparkles? Because I know they've been opening it in Wailuku area and stuff like that. So does it already have water in it coming from East Maui to them?
It's supposed to, yeah. As from what I can tell from, I haven't taken a helicopter to check yet, but from what I can tell from Hali'imaile, there's water. But yeah, Honomanu stretches. I don't know if anyone has hiked like Hosmer's Grove. Anybody?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to hike Hosmer's Grove and you were to take that Nature Conservancy trail or that trail, if you go down 1 mile or 1.5 miles or 1.8 miles, you'll hit the very top of Honomanu Valley. So Honomanu Valley stretches up to 8,300, like 18 feet. So that's a very large watershed. So that is a lot of water that's coming down Honomanu Stream specifically. Yes.
I have 2 comments and a question.
Yeah.
First, Skippy Howe's awesome. He took me to the place where I taught this. It was like really hard to get to.
Where?
Waiohui Stream.
Waiohui.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And also, I saw a cool paper written by, I believe it was Alison Sherwood who wrote this book, and it was exploring the symbiosis between taro and the limu. And they characterized all the species that live with the limu, like these microscopic species. So there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, I'll see you at the Limu Festival, right?
Oh yeah, I'm going.
Next week.
And
It's like 14, 15, 16
Yeah,
or
next
something.
Thursday.
It's 3 days. Yeah, it's going to be at Hanabe, the Limu Festival. But yeah, we have, actually I can't tell you all the Limu we have. But we have at least 3 native native Limus in our Honomanu to like Makaiba. Yeah, we have the 3 native Limu species. Yeah, can't tell you that.
Are there any more questions?
Yes, a question.
Okay.
Or no.
He just asked.
Well, that was it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not done with you. We got to talk more. But yeah, is there any more questions? Sorry, we kept it kind of short, but you understand the scope of East Maui Water Study and then Honomanu restoration. It's all about getting our vai back to the muliwai and connectivity.
And the fact that you gotta get your database, you guys are on the right track, because without that, there's no fight. Why? The downfall is that the state doesn't have enough workers to do that.
Yeah, that's why we've taken on the kuleana wholeheartedly, and we're involving a lot of the students. Hana School especially, keep harassing their teachers, like, bring them out here, get them out here. And so we're trying to make Honomanu Valley, ready for all these students. And it's not just Hana School. We want Kalama School to come out there. We want Paia. We want the babies at Haiku School. We want the seniors at King Kaulike, and we want to just get them a little bit out of the classroom back to what, Pahukoa system, and
Find them places that are healthy and happy.
get them some therapy, we all need that. A little bit of spa day in the mud.
When you said the seniors, I went, oh yeah, Kanoa, yeah.
That
the stories would come out of that.
That would be a dream. Eventually, the full scope of Honomanu is to build a little bit of hales, old hales, just so our kupuna have a place to sit and watch other kids and watch us surf and watch whoever is going to throw net, because that's rejuvenating too, to bring our kupuna back to those spaces.
And then just wanted to note that we manage the Hana Highway regulation, which is our visitor management component of all of this stuff that we do, because it's all relative. And we've been speculated that our attempts have come across as bullying or a little bit aggressive, and we just wanted to put on the record that if you look at that letter 1881, from our ancestors that stated that we were going to run into trouble and that we are currently still in trouble, we're the victims of the bullying, and so we just wanted to put that out on record so that everybody's clear about that we've been bullied for 136 years.
Yeah. Have you seen a change in the traffic or the tourism and stuff like that because of what you guys have been doing?
So when we did our summer 2018 visitor safety study, while we were on the road consistently for 4 months, doing all of our visitor education efforts, our community responded with surveys. Validating that they've seen a decrease. We saw a decrease. Hana Fire Department, validated that there was a decrease while we were on the road. Since we haven't been on the road consistently, there's been an exponential spike in, issues and unfortunate events. And so we don't, we're not on the road right now, and it's a good contrast. Even though it's not good stuff that happens, it's a good contrast for the period of time that we were on the road, and now people can see the difference as far as the effects go.
And even being down Honomanu, sometimes we get tourists that are in their jeeps, driving on Muliwai, going super close, and sometimes driving into the Muliwai. And so that's when we have to, it's our kuleana to approach them and be like, what you doing? Get away from my wopu, get away from my Muliwai. Just nice,
They don't know, turning up the rocks that the whole eggs are sitting on.
Yeah, so we made a few signs just to kind of educate, because we can't keep pulling, jeeps out every 2 hours, because they get stuck, similar to Oluwalu. Jeeps driving right there, Mustangs driving into the sand.
It's 9% of visitors that go down to Honomanu get stuck in the sand or the Muliwai, because they try to off-road in the ocean or in the Muliwai. But during our work days in the first part before we implemented visitor management, we would pull about 3 tourists a day out of the sand ourselves, and so it's a big it's a big impact to our work.
So the county administration recently announced a tourism task force. Are you folks involved with that? Anybody from East Side?
Is that like Carol?
Yeah.
No, nobody from East Maui was invited to be a part of Carol's task force, but I've positioned myself to be a part of it, whether they invited me or not.
It'd be great if you guys would present to the water board. We have kind of a full agenda for the next couple months, but maybe like January, February, if you guys can do that.
We'd be happy to come and present.
You gotta send us a formal invitation.
Yeah, because we've halted participating because we've participated since the day we were born in meetings and whatnot. We're completely.
We're really picking up.
I'm really she's a little bit of it, but really it's our great grandparents, who would take us to these water meetings and whatnot, and we're whatnot, and we're exhausted at testimonies, and we're exhausted at filing complaints. So this is our means of filing a complaint, is by going physically and encouraging everybody to come and help us to reverse the, the head up.
Yeah.
I know.